WSGI, Springfield, Tennessee, God's Informer.
One street over there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wonder what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I have today.
Oh, hello. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt the guys as we're heading into the morning. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and this is One Street Over. What's going on One Street Over from where you live in? Well, this is the last week of school for seniors in Robertson County. All you mamas and daddies, I know you're just like, oh, I know it's hard. I know. I remember it wasn't that long ago. What was it? I had my sweet friend over the weekend said to me, his little ones, his oldest is 12 or 13 now, and I looked at him, I couldn't hardly believe it because I've known them since they were tiny. And I said, it goes quick, as us old people always do. And he said, yeah, they say the days are long, but the years are short. And yes, they are. So all of you guys that are honoring your seniors this week, God bless you. Prayers for you. Do well, and you raise them to fly. So let them fly and trust the Lord. Pray over them without ceasing, and they're just going to do fantastic things. And it's all good. But this is the last week for seniors in Robertson County. If they're as a teacher, I can speak to this because I know how it works. But the ones that are exam exempt, if they've got the grades and they haven't missed too many days, then they can be done Wednesday. Wednesday will be their last day. But if they have to take exams, they'll be in on Thursday and Friday. Friday's the last day for all the seniors. And it's just so exciting. I'm going to miss them like crazy. This is the class that I've had all 4 years. This is the end of my fourth year, coming up on the end of my fourth year. So I've known these kiddos since they came in as freshmen, and what a blessing. And they are just awesome. They're just amazing kids. I actually heard from one of the kids that graduated a couple of years ago that actually did Jack Zimborny, he did our graphic for our news. He's one of those people that he was one of those students that just, once he finished everything he was assigned to do, then he kept digging in and he just taught himself so much to do. And I know he's doing great things, but I had reached out to him. I said, I just want to let you know we're still using a graphic that you created a couple of years ago. And he messaged me back, and it's so cool. I hope you guys will keep in touch with your teachers, because you guys are with us a lot, and you are an extension of family for us, and we love you so much, and we just pray over you as you enjoy your last week of school. Senator Kerry Roberts is coming in here. I've got my Lipscomb shirt on today because today is the day. What do we call it? Senior Commitment Day, or I forget exactly what we call it. Miss Samantha Grimes is probably going, LaVern, get it right. But anyway, so we're going to, give little gift bags to those. I'm going to give the one out for the students that are going to Lipscomb, and I borrowed this from Aaron Slate. I can't find any of my college stuff. I have Freed Hardeman stuff. I have Lipscomb stuff. I couldn't find it. Miss Springfield, she's representing Freed Hardeman, but I was like, I can't find a T-shirt for her to wear. I borrowed this one from Aaron. You're a Lipscomb alum. Mm-hmm. So did you go just to Lipscomb, or did you do any, did you go there all 4 years?
No, I went there for 3 years. I went to Ohio Valley College for my freshman year.
Because, see, I went to Freed-Hardeman for 3 years.
Right.
And I only went to Lipscomb my last year and then ended up dropping out just hours before I had just a handful of hours. I know my parents just wanted to strangle me and didn't go back until 2009 to finish, but I did finish. But let's get to it. Senator Kerry Roberts gave us a do-over. Last week we had some technical glitches as we were trying to figure out some new things that they'd set up in here, and everything's working now, and you've got the stream going on. We didn't have any last week. Now we got 3. So there you go. You're out there, Senator. Got your official Tennessee General Assembly vest on there. That's so cool. How long have you been a senator?
Since 2011.
I know what you mean.
But yeah, so there was some redistricting thrown in there, and so I was out of office. They changed the districts, and we have a 4-year term. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't really understand this, but the generous telling of it is that every 10 years after the census you have to redistrict, reapportion, because the population changes and some counties grow, some counties shrink. But the bottom line is that Robertson County and Sumner County work together, and that couldn't continue because the population of both combined was too big. So you take the population of Tennessee, you divide it by 33 because there are 33 state senators, and that's your ideal district. So then what you have to do is you try not to split counties, but you try to arrange it all on the board so that a collection of counties is approximately, in this case, it was 225,000 people. And, of course, that doesn't really work because some counties are larger, like Davidson, Shelby County. You have to split them. And sometimes a collection of smaller counties doesn't really work, and so you have to do further splits. But then on top of that, you have to deal with all of this stuff that the Supreme Court just wiped out, a week ago, where you had to do all this stuff on a racial basis. And so for many years, people have said, if you do things on racial preferences, isn't that racist? Mm-hmm. Well, of course, the answer under Democrats has been, well, it depends. It depends on who's being discriminated against. So the Supreme Court just basically said, enough of racism either way, we're done with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would change a consideration. So sometimes people look at maps and they say, look at the gerrymandering. Look at the gerrymandering. That's where you draw maps to benefit the party that's in charge. And sure, that's true. That happens across the country. Mm-hmm. It's pretty obvious that it happens across the country. But when the Democrats aren't in charge, they accuse the Republicans of it. When the Republicans aren't in charge, they accuse the Democrats of it, and probably there's plenty of guilt to go around. But even when you do something that makes sense, if somebody doesn't like it, what do?
Oh, they're going to,
They cry foul, and the popular one is they try to make it racial, or they try to make it discriminatory. There's just a whole lot of victimhood that goes on. So back to me, Robertson County and Sumner County had grown too large to stay together, and so there was a choice to be made. So if you think about the map, you look at Tennessee from west to east: Montgomery County, Robertson County, Sumner County. One plan was to split Robertson County between Sumner and Montgomery County, and of course, Robertson County folks didn't really like that, understandably, because they feel like you become an afterthought, right?
Right.
And the decision was made instead, which was a better decision, to put Robertson County in with these other rural what I'll call halo counties. So think about the map. Robertson, Cheatham, Dixon, Humphreys, and Hickman are kind of on the western halo of Nashville. They're all rural in nature. They've got similar issues and whatnot. And so that made a lot of sense. Well, the problem is that I was up for re-election in 2012, and there was a sitting state senator in Dixon who wasn't up for re-election until 2014. Now, normally the controversy would have been, well, you're putting two existing state senators in the same district, and one's going to have to run against the other, except the other guy said that he wasn't going to seek re-election. Problem solved. Well, as it turns out, he decided to seek re-election, but so I had to end up running.
I don't remember all the details of this. I remember it happening.
Well, I had to run against an incumbent, and then further complicating it was there was, Josh Evans was a House member at the time, and he decided that he wanted to run for Senate too. So we ended up with a race of myself, Joshua Evans, and the incumbent Jim Somerville, and then there was another gentleman by the name of Wayne White that was in the race, and so and it, as they frequently do, kind of becomes a three-way race. So I had to win that in 2014. So I started in 2011. The point is, I was out from Election Day 2012 to Election Day 2014, November Election Day.
Okay.
I was out of office. When you win a state Senate seat, you become a state senator at, midnight on Election Day.
Oh, okay.
You don't get sworn in until
Right.
the General Assembly begins.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I ceased to be a state senator at midnight on Election Day in 2012, and then I won, of course, the race, and then became state senator again in 2014. So, and have a 4-year term, and I'm up for re-election this year. Last time, 4 years ago, I didn't have any opponent whatsoever. I didn't have either a Republican primary opponent, nor did I have a Democrat general opponent. Our district is very safely Republican.
Yeah.
And so that's, of course, discouraging to, a Democrat, because it just makes it hard to win. And of course, when you're an incumbent, it discourages primary challenges. And I'll laugh and say at the Robertson County Republican Party meeting on Saturday, I repeated the old adage. When you're running for office for the first time, you're the solution. When you're running for re-election, you're part of the problem. And that's the way people view it. And, my comment was this. When people are running for office, they're very focused on what's wrong. And it's just a constant barrage of, doom and gloom. Everything's wrong. The sky is falling, whatever. But, the reality of it is that we have a whole lot to be grateful for in Robertson County and in Tennessee.
Amen.
And we lose sight of that sometimes during the election cycle. And it is natural for people who have some kind of grievance, to run for office. And so they're sort of sounding that drum. And I don't want to dismiss it, because sometimes those criticisms and concerns are really quite legitimate. But at the same time, it would be nice if we could keep it all in balance. And, just because somebody didn't vote the way that if you're a Republican, just because, a Republican doesn't vote the way you think they should have, doesn't make them a rhino. It just makes them someone with a policy difference.
And so often, too, and I've had you unpack things for me that somebody would complain about your vote, and then when you unpack the entirety of it, I'm like, well, absolutely, that's how you have to.
Let me give you a perfect example.
It's just so
perfect example. I got a message from someone saying, "Why didn't you vote for the 3 strikes bill?" Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. The premise here is someone what people think and what the bill actually said are 2 different things. So what it sounds like is, let's take repeat offenders and let's lock them up for life. Let's give them a life sentence. Mm-hmm. Okay. The problem with that is, if you go back and look at the testimony from the experts, okay, there's an example of a Tennessee Tech student with a nonviolent offense that they don't have to go to jail for. And then there's a second nonviolent offense which actually could contain 2 charges. And I'm sorry, I'm getting in the weeds. Here's the summation. You could send a nonviolent offender that's never spent a day in jail to prison for life. Yeah. That's the way the bill was written. Yeah. Can you vote for that? I don't know anyone who can, once if they agree with that, or if they buy into that, and you separate any political pressure from that, and people were saying, well, this is part of Trump's agenda. This came from the White House. Well, I don't care. I mean, God bless Donald Trump, but this is the state of Tennessee, and and the people of Tennessee expect me to read a bill and think through, are there any unintended consequences? So fundamentally,
that key thing, unintended consequences, that's the thing that
happens all the time.
All the time.
Happens all the time.
All the time.
And so I look at something like that, and am I in favor of a violent offender who's committed multiple offenses? Lock them. Of course I am. But am I in favor of sending, a Tennessee Tech student who's never, committed a nonviolent offense to jail for life? No. And someone would say, oh, well, that's an outlier. That's an outlier. Hey, if that's my kid and they can't get out, you know what a life sentence is in Tennessee? Life with parole. Life with parole. Do you know what that is in Tennessee? Mm-mm. Okay. There's actually, technically, they say it the other way. It's life, or it's life without parole. Okay. Life with parole, in other words, life. Sorry to be confusing. You got to serve basically 50 years before you're eligible for parole.
That's incredible, especially.
We are the only state that does that. We are, in most states, at the most, it's 25 years. At the most. Mm-hmm. Why is it that we do it that way? Common misunderstanding. And this is why I voted against the quote-unquote truth in sentencing. Okay? We are perverting something because of misunderstanding that was actually very, very effective. During Lamar Alexander's administration, we were in trouble with the feds because of prison overcrowding. So there was a task force that completely revisited the sentencing. And they changed it all, and they simplified it, and they did a wonderful thing. Okay. What exactly did they do? They built in a carrot to dangle in front of anyone who's incarcerated. And let me make up kind of a ridiculous example, okay? Let's say that it's a crime for you to steal a loaf of bread, and of course it is. And let's say that they sat there and determined that you ought to go to jail for 3 years because of that. So when they did the sentencing matrix and when they came up with this plan, they said, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell you that it's a 10-year prison sentence, but if you do everything we ask you to do, if you behave, if you take classes, if you learn a skill, if you get a degree, if you go to counseling, whatever it is that we put in front of you, you'll be eligible for parole after 3 years. So you hear this expression, 30% served. Well, what's the point of it? The point of it is that I can't sentence you to 3 years and ask you to take all these classes so you can get out in 3 years. You'll just say, screw you, I'm not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. But if I tell you that's a 10-year sentence, but we'll let you out after 3,
right?
If you do everything, no write-ups, no disciplinary action, you behave yourself, you be a model inmate, then after 3 years, you'll get in front of the parole board and we'll let you out. Okay, that's the bargain. That's the way it's supposed to work. You cannot run a prison without hope. Otherwise, it's violence. You heaven forbid that somebody you love ever go to jail. They may not make it till the end, right? You got to have hope. Hope is what keeps order in a prison.
Right.
Hope is what keeps those who are incarcerated thinking about, do I really want to come back here, or do I want to take advantage of Lipscomb University, for example, offering me to take classes and I can get an associate degree or a bachelor's degree or even a master's degree. Do I want to learn a skill? Do I want to learn, electrical skills, woodworking, whatever it might be? Do I want to become a trustee? All these different things that get you out after 3 years. So then here's what's happening. So then politicians come along and they say, because of victims' families, what do you mean you're letting that person out after 3 years? You said it was a 10-year sentence. Okay, nobody ever explained it. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
And we're going to say, all right, we're not going to let people out at 30% served anymore. But we can't afford to keep them for 10 years. So lo and behold, we came along and picked all these certain offenses and said they've got to serve 85%. And I voted against it. And people say,
we're like, oh,
what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Or, I thought you were tough on crime. No, I'd like to be smart. Here's the bottom line. Most of these people are going to get out someday. And what I'd like is I would like them to have been driven and motivated by the hope of getting out and, taking the classes, learning the skills, and so on. Does that always work? No. But is that person going to make it in front of the parole board after 3 years? They're going to have disciplinary write-ups. They're going to have infractions. They're going to not take the classes. There's some people, frankly, mm-hmm. who are just going to wind up back in jail, and that's that. But there are a lot of people that if you give them hope, it can change their life. Now, when I started out in politics, this was the way I looked at it. Mm-hmm. I looked at it like, I know what we need to do. We need to make prison so burdensome. We need to be telling them they got to bust big rocks into small rocks and they'll never want to go back. All you do when you take that approach is create a hardened, desensitized, angry person mm-hmm. who is looking forward to the day that they can get out and they can wreak havoc. They can, they can get revenge or whatever. It mm-hmm. just doesn't, it's not the way it works. And so somewhere along the line, okay, did I become a liberal? Of course not. What I did was I looked at data and looked at the facts, and that's good. There's a lot of information that's available to us now. Some information, some data, may not be worth the paper it's written on because it was done in a biased manner. I get that. I'm not naive here. We always have to look at the source, mm-hmm. and but there's a lot of good data out there. And you know what? Here's the thing. And this is LaVern, what everybody needs to keep track of. Generally speaking, we all want the same thing. And what is that? Someone who did wrong to go to jail and serve their time and then get out and become a productive citizen.
Yes.
It's just a disagreement on how we get from point A to point B.
Right. We're talking with Senator Kerry Roberts, and I tell you, I wish I had 2 hours with him because there's so much we need to cover. I'm going to do a quick break, and then we're going to come back. And I do want you, because we didn't get to get this in the stream last week, talk a little bit about your the assembly of folks you had at your house. It's so cool. I want you to mention that again, if you don't mind. And then I want us to get right into the legislative update, because we don't need to get out of here without doing that. But I do think we need to make sure and kind of mention that again, because that was a really cool event. But before we get to that, I want to mention, of course, Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. I'm going to get them in here sometime in the next couple of weeks, because we're coming up on the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. We've got to get them in just to give us an update on the festival. They are founding sponsor, board members. They have been with this from the very get-go. It is next weekend, the 15th and 16th. I'll be out there. I'm so excited. They will be there. They'll have their tent set up. Any question that you have from real estate, you can go out there and sit down and talk to them. They can do free market analysis right there. They have the computer with them. They can talk to you about the areas that you're looking in, what kind of homes are listed. I was just looking at Rebecca's page. Her last 2 listings, they're sold. Things are starting to heat up in the market, guys. If you want to get that home that you're looking for, you need to get with a realtor, get with Barry and Rebecca, tell them where you're wanting to go, or if you've got property to sell, see if it's at the value you want it to be and how it's going to do on the market with that free market analysis. Look at all the things. And if you're going to buy, you got to get pre-qualified. They're going to help you and point you in the right direction to do that. But get on the computer today and just kind of look around. You can find Barry and Rebecca. Just Google them, Barry Richards, Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. You'll find Facebook pages. You'll find all the social media stuff. You'll find web pages that'll give you all the updates on the things they've got going on. The one listing that has had my eye is here in Springfield that Barry's got listed on 703 5th Avenue West here in Springfield, right over by the library. Beautiful home listed right here in Springfield. You want to move to Springfield? Everybody does. Well, that is a beautiful home. Really well priced. Go and check it out today, but go to their webpage and check all of those things out and come and see us at the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival next weekend. If you have any questions about real estate, buying, selling, you want to be a realtor yourself, reach out to Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty, sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. Or you can call them 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425 or 7424. Always let them know U-Turn sent you. All right, Senator, tell me about this big old shindig you had. That was so cool.
This was something that was kind of fun for Robertson County. The Lieutenant Governor, Speaker of the Senate, Randy McNally, is not seeking re-election. So after 48 years of public service, and by the way, if you look at his career, I mean, he once upon a time early in his career, he wore a wire, which brought down a lot of public corruption, and I mean, he just has had kind of a fascinating career. But he was a longtime chairman of the Finance Committee and Senate, and then he became the Speaker of the Senate, which makes you the Lieutenant Governor.
Lieutenant Governor.
So in Tennessee, we're a little bit unique. The Speaker of the Senate is the Lieutenant Governor, so you're number 2 in command. So we had a dinner at our house to honor his retirement, and we had 80 guests there, plus all the, over 100 people altogether. But it was neat. Had previous Governor Haslam, current Governor Lee, Marsha. I think Marsha Blackburn will be the next governor, and I say that with all due respect to people who like, John Rose and Monty Fritz, but I think I'm gonna.
So it's going to be a hard. I mean, the polls are pretty clear.
Yeah, it's a mountain. It's a mountain for John or Monty to climb.
And
they're all fine people.
They're all great candidates.
Absolutely. But and fortunate to consider all them friends. But Marcia couldn't get back from Washington. But Secretary of State, Comptroller Emeritus. Former senators, couple who are commissioners, or one who's a commissioner, and it's just neat. And we had Springfield High School students served us.
I think that's great.
Yeah, that was fun. The depot catered. It was just a beautiful event. And so I made the comment, I don't believe in Robertson. First of all, I've never seen the entire Senate was assembled except for one person. Mm-hmm. I've never seen the entire Senate together outside of the Capitol, ever.
That's really cool.
Ever. I've never seen 32 out of 33 in the same room outside of the Capitol.
That's really cool.
I mean, all this time I'm doing this. So, first of all, we had all the Senate there except for one. And second of all, to have former governor, current governor, all these constitutional officers, I think it was literally the most powerful collection, if you want to say it that way, of politicians ever in Robertson County history. So we've been a county since 1796, and I don't know when there would have been a gathering that would have topped that. That would be a great question for, you remember Yolanda Reed that worked for the county archives for years?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a great question.
Ooh.
And
yeah.
I mean, and you
Bill
could...
Jones, I bet he'll be in next
But
Monday.
you could say there's a presidential visit, back in the day, and
right.
I get that. But this is just the sheer number was pretty amazing.
That's
and
cool.
Of course, it was fun for the students to be there. Kenya Dossett works with the culinary program, and she said one of the students came back and said, went back to the back where the service building is, and she said, the governor's out there. And she said, there's two governors out there. She said the former governor's out there too. So we had a good night.
I love that. I love her. That's just wonderful that y'all did that. I think that's so cool. But I just wanted to, since we didn't have the stream going, I just really wanted to talk about that because I just think that's so stinking cool. And we're so proud of our Robertson County kids. So excited that they got to do that. That's just cool. That's just really cool. But now we do need to move on. I promise everybody we'll have another break to do, but we'll hold off on that for just a moment. We've got to get into the legislative update. So where do you want to start?
Well, let me give you a big overview. Here are some of the topics that we worked on. Okay, so first and foremost, the state budget. We're constitutionally mandated to pass a balanced budget, and honestly, we don't have to do anything else. We do, but you could stop right there. That's the one and only constitutional requirement that we have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And probably some years we should stop there, but we don't. Okay. So some of the topics that we worked on, education, obviously, illegal immigration. Now, illegal immigration is a federal issue, but as we know, some local law enforcement agencies, not here, but in Nashville and in Shelby County, are refusing to work with the federal agents. And how in the world this became a Democrat versus Republican issue is beyond me. And so many of these issues have become Democrat versus Republican, and common sense is just completely thrown out the window. But there is, it just, I mean, I hate to say it, but so many people just, I've never seen, like in the case of President Trump, he's loved or he's hated. There's not a lot of people who are indifferent. But the hatred, I've never seen it. I mean, he is hated more by the Democrats and some Republicans than, say, Obama or Biden ever was by the Republicans.
I don't understand the hatred. I was not raised to hate anyone. Yeah. And so I don't understand.
And this stuff.
I cannot agree with people.
And let me tell you, yeah.
But I don't hate people.
And all this.
I don't have that in my heart. And I just praise the Lord that my parents raised me that way. And I don't understand people who do have that vitriol and hatred for people. And you don't have to agree with them.
Yeah.
Move on.
And
somebody else next time.
And, Bill, what's his name on late night TV? He made the comment that, if you're upset that Trump didn't die, you're not a good person, and his audience was just silent. Mm-hmm.
You talking about Bill Maher?
Yeah,
he freaks everybody out because he's one of these people he's atheist pretty much. I guess that's pretty much where he falls still. But he says things that conservatives can agree with every now and then, and they're just so shocked. But because he's rational in so many ways. And I mean, I don't know. I don't want to.
Well, all these.
He's so anti-God. But he does say some things in regards to the political, that really is shocking.
His comment was, if you wanted, basically, to paraphrase, if you're upset that Donald Trump is not dead, then you're not a good human being.
Exactly.
And
it's just like the people who cheered at when Charlie Kirk was killed. How dare you? How dare you? I mean, I don't understand what we've gotten to in this country. I saw something on social media. There was I can't remember the guy's name. It was just something that scrolled through, was talking about how this happens because everybody is hurting so bad. It's like, what do you mean? I mean, have you looked around
it's just blame. It's blame shifting.
It's like, things are more expensive and all that, but
you can't blame. You can't justify someone firing a gun at someone because of words.
No.
I mean, but here's the problem. Repeat after me. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but
sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
Okay.
Apparently now.
Apparently now they can, and apparently nobody says that anymore, because I bet you this would be an interesting question.
Okay.
Ask your students if they've heard that before.
Okay. I'll make a note.
Yeah, because all we want to do is talk about our feelings and how words can be, and I truly understand. Words can be hurtful. I truly understand that. But somewhere along the way, we have to convey in people what somebody else says about you or what somebody else says to you. Mm-hmm. But
walk away, man.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. Okay. How do you respond to something like that when you know Jesus? How do you respond to something like that when you don't know Jesus?
When you know Jesus, I hope that you
can
walking
forgive.
Away and
you can
forgive.
You can let it go.
You don't know Jesus.
You know what's important. You see that person who uttered those hateful words as someone in need of compassion, caring, something.
Right.
And you forgive them and you move on. Mm-hmm. But people dwell on things. Okay, all right. So
we're going down some rabbit holes, and everybody's like, "Get on topic, LaVern's. Let him."
Illegal immigration was a topic. Crime and public safety, law enforcement, first responders, courts and corrections, protecting. Here's a hot button. Protecting biological reality.
Hold it. That gender stuff, I'm assuming. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you a question.
I would assume that's what you're talking about.
Okay. What is gender affirming care?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can tell you what.
Gender affirming care has to do with the counseling and therapy.
Stop. No, it doesn't.
No,
Stop.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I'm not sure.
The answer is it depends. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
So if you ask somebody over on the left, it is surgery, drugs. Right. If you think that you're a boy, let's rush you into puberty blockers and a lifetime of drugs and let's go ahead at a young age and let's remove your breast and let's do all this other kind of stuff. Now, if anyone listening to me who's all the way over on the left disagrees with that, I want to hear from you right now, because I have never found anyone on the left or far left who disagrees with that. That is their definition of gender affirming care. Over here on the right where I sit, my definition of gender affirming care is not change your body to fix your mind. It is change your mind to align with your biological reality. Shouldn't we try counseling first?
Yeah, I mean that's why.
Then the liberals come back and say, "Oh well, these kids need to have." No, you don't buy into counseling. Only counseling that says, "I'm a boy despite my biological reality." And all the people that have not read your book, and that's why that's everyone who wonders why I'm pointing at her right now. You need to read the book about the tomboy.
Well, it's a blog. It's a short blog, and then you can go to.
But it's in your book too, right? Is it in your book?
To some degree.
Okay,
yeah.
but it's more the blog.
It's more the blog is just.
Well, I knew I read it somewhere.
It's super short, and it's on my webpage, LaVernVivio.com. You turn Laverne, you can find it. But I wished I'd been born a boy. I was the tomboy's tomboy, and. If people had not left me alone, dear God, I don't know what I would have had.
If you were born in the year, okay, let's say 2015, and you are now 11 years old, what would be happening to you right now?
I would be getting bombarded. With all of it, because at that age, I was still very much refusing to do anything female.
And do 11-year-olds today have access to the internet?
Oh, yeah. I can't even imagine.
And there's a whole culture on the internet driving kids to question their biological reality and their gender. Okay, what we all want is we want what's best for children. Yeah. But gender-affirming care is not operating on a 12-year-old.
No.
And we've done numerous things to outlaw that in Tennessee. But you know what? You know who will not vote for that? I'm sorry. It's the most partisan statement I'm going to make today. Anyone who's a Democrat, none of them will vote for that.
Unbelievable.
Not a single one of them. And then they have the audacity to say that we are filled with hate and that we're attacking children. And the list goes on.
I just want kids to grow up, man. Leave them alone.
What I want is a well-adjusted child. Mm-hmm. And some children need counseling. And some children need to have their mind aligned with their body. And for many years, many years, this was in the diagnostic manual as what do we know it as? We knew it as gender dysphoria. Mm-hmm. Discomfort with one's biological reality. And what'd you do? You went to counseling. Mm-hmm. And how did it work out? 999, whatever the statistics are, 99 times out of 100, 999 times out of 100, it was fine. And boy, this is a hot button that everyone's given up on. But the same was true with homosexuality. Now, you want to drop a bomb, suggest that someone who has same sex, if you espouse counseling, what's called reparative therapy, if you espouse counseling for someone with same sex attraction, in some places that is hate speech that not just can be prosecuted, but is prosecuted. Now, in the state of Tennessee, you can still say that. Now, the question is, it gets framed as you hate someone. Why is it not framed, no, I want the best for someone? And they say, well, maybe the best for them is same-sex attraction. And, and my answer would be, well, maybe not. But why do we just assume that that's the answer? Why can't a kid go see a therapist about that? Why are they not allowed to do that anymore? So they are allowed to do it with gender dysphoria, but you really can do it on same-sex attraction.
And I think oftentimes, I didn't have access to counseling or anything like that. Fortunately, I had a dear friend named Jessie that was my counselor. And that is in the book. But anyway, I just, and I deeply relied on that. And that got me through the journey that I went on. But I just thank God everybody left me alone.
I just want to tell you this. I want to tell you this. When you don't get your way, and then you start lobbing insults at the opposition by saying, "Oh, you're just a bunch of haters."
Yeah, it's like
that's ridiculous,
because
I don't know whether you're all the way over here or all the way over here. almost everyone I know, and maybe there are some few exceptions, but I don't know anyone who hates kids and wants bad things to happen to them. I mean, they love children. Children, sorry for the cliche, are our future, and they want to see healthy, happy, well-adjusted children. And so, yeah, it's a policy difference. It's a philosophical difference. It may even be a religious difference. But for somebody all the way over here to say, you hate kids because you're outlawing surgery on 12-year-olds, that's ridiculous. Moving on. Protecting children and families, healthcare and insurance, business and commerce, state and local government. Protecting Tennessee from foreign adversaries. So we have our enemies who are well known, and look, here's what's sad. We're all sitting here. I'm sipping from a cup made in China, and probably my iPad was probably made in China. Yours probably was too. And yet, the Chinese, the communist regime in China is our enemy, and we best not forget that. Not the Chinese people, the Chinese government. And so they embed people, and people say that sounds like spy novel, but it's absolutely true.
Oh, it's absolutely
They embed people in our universities to steal research and so on, and there's prosecutions every single year for this, and so we strengthen some of our law. So we can dive into, I'll do some bullet points for each of these. I don't know if you want to take your break first.
Go ahead and do my break.
Okay, and then we'll hit some bullet points on each one.
All the way to the top of the hour. But we do have another sponsor, our wonderful, just a great partner to have with our longtime full-time sponsor, Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. Well, a piece of that is you need to get pre-qualified before you come to the table to see, what kind of home you're going to buy. And you can do that with Valor Mortgage. Chris Armitrout is our latest full-time sponsor, and we are so thrilled to add them into the mix because it's exactly what you need when you're considering buying a home. You need to talk to a mortgage expert immediately. They've got experienced loan officers that'll work hard to find you the right mortgage solution for your life, for your budget, for all your goals, whether it be VA loans, VHA loans. They've got options from conventional to jumbo financing. They have all the tools to get you to the closing table to help you with one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make, and that's buying a home. So why settle for a lender? One of these, national numbers you call, it's going to treat you just like a number. That is not going to be your experience at Valor Mortgage. You're going to have folks that are going to be on your team and help you remember that they're not just in the business of mortgage. They're in mortgages. They're in the business of making home ownership possible for everyone. So reach out to them today. They're in downtown, but the best way is to call them because they're out and about taking care of all of those folks that they're helping all the time. But you can give them a call at 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or you can go to valor.mortgage, valor.mortgage to get pre-approved today. Whether you're buying your first home, refi, or investing in the future, Valor Mortgage is ready to serve because when it matters most, you deserve a lender you can trust. Buy with confidence, buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS number 1210804, DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911, equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Rates and terms subject to change without notice, not a commitment to lend. And be sure, always let our sponsors know that U-Turn sent you. All right, Senator Roberts, what else you got for us?
All right, so when we talk about budget, additional $20 million in our rainy day funds, so now our total reserves are $2.2 billion, largest in state history. So that's a good thing. Our a lot of concern about rural health. So we've got made significant investments from the general fund to help our rural hospitals with uncompensated care. So worked to get more money into TennCare to cover increased cost associated with medical inflation. Education, we had last year had increased starting teacher pay to $50,000, $20 million for K through 12 facility maintenance. We expanded the Education Freedom Scholarships. It went from $20,000 to $35,000. We, in higher education, building a new College of Medicine in Memphis. Let me see. Infrastructure, rural housing. We have $400 million for new and existing transportation projects. A lot of road stuff going on. Renovating our rest areas, welcome centers. Rural Development Fund, more money into that for business development infrastructure in our rural areas. $20 million for volunteer fire services, emergency medical services also. We've put more money into DCS to reduce the caseload ratios. We've got enhancements for staff safety at our DCS facilities. $2 million for the summer food program for children. With respect to neighborhoods, so we've got kind of a new thing here. This is a governor's response and recovery fund. We sort of changed the way we do it. So if there's a natural disaster, we can get money to people faster. We've just put a lot more money into our juvenile justice and stuff like that. We're creating 3 new Tennessee state parks. We continue to put money into nuclear energy and innovation. Let's see here.
I'd stop you, but I know we need to get on that nuclear innovation. I'd like to know what that's more about because my son's always been interested in that as an electrical engineer.
Well, mainly we have a nuclear energy fund that's designed to attract advanced nuclear tech companies. Of course, around Oak Ridge, that's sort of the center for nuclear research. And so we anticipate that ultimately nuclear is our future.
I agree.
And people still think Chernobyl and things like that. But as that becomes a distant memory, what they don't, technology has changed dramatically to where not only it can be safe and effective, but also the nasty nuclear waste that people would always talk about can actually be recycled and used for other things now. So
it's changed so much.
Yeah. So it is the future. I don't think there's people may not know that, but it is. Free speech on campus, a lot of stories we hear about Turning Point USA and things like that being shut down. So some stuff like that. This was interesting. Schools can teach about the historic role of biblical values in shaping America. Now, they previously could do it. They just didn't know they could, or they couldn't do it without threats of lawsuit, but you can now. Strengthening instruction on America's founding principles and the core civic values allows foundational historic documents to be posted in classrooms, including the Ten Commandments. So expanded workforce pathways. This is one of those, but student athletes can have a one-time transfer without losing eligibility. Illegal immigration, it requires county sheriffs to participate in the federal 287G agreements. Here's the thing. You've got someone who is, and let's be honest, there are people who are here illegally, and there are people who are here illegally who are criminals. Now, I know someone can say that anyone who's here illegally is a criminal, and I get that. But what I'm saying is there are the rapists, the murderers, the robbers, and then there are the people who just came here for a better way of life, and they work hard.
They were living in a cardboard box south of the border.
And quite candidly, they knew that if they had their babies here, their babies would be U.S. citizens, and maybe one day they'd be able to be U.S. citizens. Okay, I get all that. Generally speaking, if whatever the number is, and some people say as high as 10%, but if there are 30 million people here in the United States that are here illegally, there is absolutely no mechanism in place to deport 30 million people. You can't process that many people. So for the most part, ICE is focused on people who have committed some kind of crime beyond just being here illegally. There's outstanding warrants for them. They've been guilty of a felony level offense or whatever the case might be, and so they got arrested and then they disappeared. That's for the most part who ICE is after, and so it's become such. Everybody ought to agree with that. Everybody ought to agree with that, and certainly every family who's lost a child or had a child raped or had anything, because of somebody who was a catch and release ought to be outraged. But unfortunately, apparently only the Republicans are outraged. So this requires county sheriffs to participate in 287G agreements, and that's a federal program, and we don't have a problem here in Robertson County with that. It requires Tennessee courts to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. Again, we don't have a problem with that in our judicial district. It requires law enforcement to honor federal immigration detainers. Again, we don't have a problem with that here in Robertson County. Establish state-level penalties for illegal immigrants who violate federal removal orders or who re-enter unlawfully. Okay, so the bottom line is Tennessee is trying to ensure that every level of government, local, county, state, etc., supports and doesn't obstruct federal immigration enforcement.
Okay.
Expanded the E-Verify requirements that and closed some of the loopholes that allowed illegal employment, require state and local governments to verify work authorization. Now, you don't have to be a citizen to be here lawfully. There's a big difference between having a lawful presence and being here illegally.
Right.
And you don't have to be a citizen to be here lawfully. You can lawfully be here and not be a citizen of the United States. What's obvious? You're here on vacation, right? That's obvious. You're a college student. That's obvious. You're here on some kind of work visa. That's obvious. You're an agricultural worker. That's obvious. There are a lot of reasons that you can be here legally even though you're not a United States citizen. So proof of lawful presence is critically important for people who are here who are not United States citizens. And we got to be careful that we don't, impair the rights of people who are here lawfully, even though they're not a United States citizen.
Right.
So that's not lost on me for
Right.
people who are upset about ICE. Okay, safe and lawful driving in Tennessee. We see this in the news. People who can't speak English who have commercial driver's license. Well, we're trying to crack down on illegal commercial drivers, trying to ensure that only lawfully qualified individuals operate these large vehicles on Tennessee roads. Now, it's harder for us when somebody has a CDL from a state like California that just gives it to anyone who's willing to pay the money. We have English language safety standards. So if you're going to get that CDL, you have to speak English. I'm sorry, we're not haters. We're not racist. We're not whatever. We're just trying to make sure that when someone's behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler, they're not going the wrong way. that just happened recently. Yeah.
And that's people don't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holding criminals accountable and strengthening sentence. We raised the minimum sentence for second-degree murder to at least 25 years. Increased penalties for hit and run. That actually came out of a situation that happened with one of my constituents in another county. Increased penalties for DUI offenses and so on. Protected. You saw the news about these people who barged into a house of worship.
Yeah.
And protested. Created strengthened protections for them. Crack down on organized crime, organized theft, strengthening law enforcement, protecting victims of sexual assault, and so forth. So we did a whole lot of stuff. I'm just going to say this in closing because I know we're at the top of the hour. We have a lot of laws in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And I said this Saturday at the Republican Party meeting. A lot of these laws that we passed are tweaking existing laws, and they add to the code in Tennessee, and I have some real mixed emotions about that. When a state like Tennessee has more rules and regulations than a blue state like Michigan,
that's a problem.
We need to think about that. And so all these Republican legislators who want to look like they're doing something, I get it. You want to go home and you want to be able to say, look what I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe it's time that we start going home and saying, I'll tell you what I did. I said no.
Yeah.
I said no. I said enough is enough. Let's let judges judge. So many of these laws tie the hands of judges.
See, that's not good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So many of these laws tie the hands of school districts. Mm-hmm. So many of these laws tie the hands of our state agencies like a DCS or like Commerce and Insurance and so on. And we really need to give a lot of thought as to whether or not we need another law.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Maybe even overturn a few that are there's no point for them being there. I'll tell you, and do you think you'll be here next month? Or actually at the end of this month would be when it would come up. I mean, just kind of look at your calendar.
What's your date?
The date we would have you in here would be the 25th of May. Well, that's Memorial Day. So do you want to come in on Memorial Day? So, that's Memorial Day. I will do a show.
I will actually not be here. That's the issue.
I will do a Memorial Day show. Okay. So we'll look at the calendar and I'll float some other dates to you. And we may just have to be out until the 22nd. I don't know.
And I will be, and on the 22nd, I'll be in San Antonio. So we might want to look at June 29th.
Okay. Well, I will look at some dates and see if we can't float them to you and see if we can't get you. Because if you guys have questions about the legislative session, send them to me and I will forward them to Senator Roberts. And maybe we can talk about some specific questions. Because, in this kind of lull between sessions, it'd be a good time to say, hey, this is something that happened and I want to, talk about this. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Just say if we've got some questions or something.
Right.
So, but in the meantime, thank you so much for coming back in today.
And let me wrap it up by saying this. So yes, we're in session from January to the end of April, and yes, we vote on these laws. But probably the biggest thing that we spend our time doing is helping people solve problems with the state. Mm-hmm. Now, let me laugh and say, I consistently disappoint people who don't like the way things, I'll pick another county, they don't like the way things are in Burns, or they don't like the way things are in Dixon, or they don't like the way things are in Centerville. I don't have any authority to tell the city folks what to do. Mm-mm. I don't have any authority to tell the county folks what to do. I don't have any authority to tell the school board what to do. Don't get to tell the police what to do. we vote on laws of statewide application. And if someone is not following one of those laws, there are well, no, but even then there are, that's what law enforcement's for. That's what your DA is for. And I don't get to be the boss of them either. So a lot of times people call and say, well, can't you do something about this? And it's like, well, I can connect you with the right people. Well, I already talked to them and they won't do anything. And I understand how frustrating that can be, but I don't get. Somebody called me the other day and said, can't you call somebody at the city of Springfield? And I said, they probably don't appreciate it if somebody like me calls them and tries to tell them how to do their job, because I don't really have any authority in the matter. And I know it's frustrating for people, but same with federal issues. We can get you connected with the right people, but our role is to help you when you have problems with the state. You're a realtor and your license didn't get renewed, or you're having a problem with Tennessee Department of Revenue, or you've got DCS issues, or you've got TennCare issues. Those are the things that we can do. And you don't actually have to talk to me. You can talk to my staff, and that's what they do. They're there full time. We're part-time. So they're in the office every day and they're answering the phone. And my assistant Bailey is wonderful, and she is new this year, but she's so smart. She's so good. And she called me the other day and she said, I solved somebody's problem. And that's great. She's eager. She's very eager to help. So if we can help people, just give us a call, send us an email. And always people are welcome to meet in person. You don't have to go to Nashville to meet with me. I'll meet with people here in Springfield. Sometimes I have people come to my house, and I'll say this and shut up. I actually love it when people come to my house. Okay, there's only one problem with it.
What? When
they come to your house, you've got to set that expectation as to what time they have to leave.
There is that.
You got to take care of business, and then I got to move on to the next thing.
Like
so I've always, when people come to the house, I say, but I almost feel like I'm being rude sometimes. It's like, okay, if you'll get here at 9:30, please don't come early. Please don't come late. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to have a hard cutoff. And you're going to have to.
Well, you have to, because you've got other meetings and things like that.
Yeah, there's no secretary or administrative assistant there to
ease you out.
And so we have to do it. And so let's not get sidetracked. Let's stick to business.
Yeah, and we're almost 10 after.
All right.
And I got to get to school because I got a super busy day. Anyway, thank you, Senator Roberts, for being here. Thank you guys for joining us. Tomorrow we'll hear from everybody from White House, and hope you'll be here on 1100 WSGI. God bless you. Have a great day.